Let me tell you a story that still blows my mind every time I think about it. It started out as what everyone thought was an act of love. A Florida man was preparing for surgery, nothing life-threatening, but enough so that he knew he'd be down for a while. And he did what many people do. He turned to someone he trusted. He gave his nephew a power of attorney, just so he could help out with the bills, check the mail, pay a few things, just to make sure nothing fell through the crack while he recovered. Family helping family. That's the way it's supposed to be, right? But family can be funny sometimes. Within a few months, this went from helping to full-blown chaos. While this man was focused on healing, his nephew was focused on helping himself. Small withdrawals started happening, 100 here, a couple hundred there, and then larger amounts. Then the accounts emptied. Then credit card opened in the uncle's name. And guess what the final straw was? Well, the nephew transferred the man's home, his actual home, literally the roof over his head, into his own name. He just signed it over like it was nothing. And every time I tell this story, people look at me and say, well, Attorney Otto, how is that even legal? And I always say the same thing, because a power of attorney is one of the most powerful documents you will ever sign. Let me break this down for you very simply. When you give someone power of attorney, you are literally giving them the legal ability to act as if they are you, not to help you, not to support you, not to pitch in, as if they are you. They can sign your name, access your accounts, move your money, sell your property, change your beneficiaries, open credit. And depending on how the document is written, they can even give gifts to themselves. And here's the part that shocks a lot of people. In Florida, the power becomes effective the moment you sign that document. Not when you go into the hospital, not when you become incapacitated, not when a doctor writes a letter. It is instant. So back to our story. By the time the family realized something was wrong, almost everything was gone. And yes, the judge eventually ruled that the nephew had abused his authority. But by then, most of the money, most of the assets, gone with the wind. And I know I say this all the time, but you truly cannot make this stuff up. But before you think this is an isolated situation, let me tell you about a few other real life cases right here in Florida that will make your jaw drop. There was a case in Sarasota where an elderly lady gave her neighbor power of attorney so the neighbor could help out, again, with a few little things, run some errands, do groceries, pay some bills, make sure her mortgage was kept up. Well, that neighbor helped herself to over $200,000 of the woman's money. She bought a car, she took vacations, and the elderly woman didn't even realize it until she got a foreclosure notice because her mortgage had not been paid in months. And then there was a case in Palm Beach where a son had power of attorney for his father who had dementia. Now you would think this is your own child, so it's safe, right? This man, the son, sold his father's investment property way below market value just so he could cash in quickly. He pocketed the money and let the taxes lapse on the father's actual home until the county put it up for tax deed sale. The father lost the house he had lived in for over 40 years. Another one, a man gave his sister power of attorney while he traveled for work. She sold his boat, took the money, and then used his bank accounts to renovate her own house. When he came home, there was nothing left. And here's a final one that really breaks my heart. A caregiver convinced an older gentleman to sign a power of attorney, again, just to help out. Within months, she had taken control of everything. His money, his property, even his medical decisions. His own children weren't even allowed access to information. By the time they stepped in legally, it was too late. Now, these are not random cases. I see versions of this in my own office far too often. So let me slow down for a moment and explain in the simplest way possible exactly what a power of attorney is and why it's so dangerous if done incorrectly. A power of attorney gives someone authority to handle your financial life. This includes banking, credit, contracts, real estate, investments, and if the document does not limit it, almost everything else. And what could go wrong, you might ask? So many things. For example, you give someone access to your checking account so they can pay your rent, and suddenly they're transferring money to themselves. You trust someone to handle your mail, and the next thing you know, they're signing contracts in your name. You let someone help manage your home, and they quietly file a deed transferring it to their own name. People don't realize how fast this can happen. It doesn't take months. It doesn't take weeks. It can literally take a single afternoon. Let me break down some of the most dangerous powers hidden inside a poorly drafted power of attorney. Gifting power. This allows someone to give themselves your money. Real estate powers. They can sell or transfer your home. Banking powers. They can empty your bank accounts. Investment powers. They can move or liquidate your portfolio. Beneficiary changes. They can change who inherits what. Business powers. They can sign contracts that legally bind you. And Florida law doesn't let you create a spring-in power of attorney anymore, meaning that it's going to kick in later on. Once you sign it, as I mentioned, it's effective right now. So before you ever execute one of these, you should know that you can trust this person completely. So let's talk about the red flags, the signs you should never choose someone as your power of attorney. And there are a couple of them. Number one, if they are irresponsible with money, if they borrow money and don't repay it, if they feel entitled, if they don't communicate with you, if they make impulsive decisions, absolutely not. If they get defensive when you bring up oversight or backups, that's a huge red flag. Or simply, if something in your spirit says, listen to that. And this is the part that most people underestimate. This is the only document in your whole estate plan that can destroy your finances while you are still alive. Your will cannot do that. Your trust cannot do that. Your life insurance policy cannot do that. But a power of attorney, oh yes, that document in the wrong hands can wreck everything. So let's talk about what to do if you suspect that someone is already abusing the power of attorney. Number one, you want to freeze your accounts. Call the bank immediately and let them know something is wrong. Number two, revoke the power of attorney in writing. An attorney can draft that very quickly for you. Number three, demand a full accounting. They have to show where the money went. Number four, notify all institutions, banks, investment firms, mortgage companies that the agent no longer has authority. Number five, contact law enforcement if needed. Financial exploitation of the elderly is a crime in Florida. Number six, notify family members who are healthy, stable, and trustworthy. You need a support system. And number seven, update your estate plan. If one person abused your trust, it may be time to rethink things and reframe how you had things positioned before. But the truth is, by the time most people come to me, the damage is already done. Once the money is moved, the house is transferred, the assets are sold, it becomes incredibly hard to undo. So prevention is everything. And here's what I recommend for everyone watching. Choose the right person, not the closest person. Choose the most responsible person, not the loudest person. Choose the person who manages their own life well. Because if they can't manage their own finances, they won't magically manage yours better. Get a professionally drafted document, not something you found online. Put limits in place. Add safeguards, name backups, tell other trusted people who your agent is, and review your documents every 3 to 5 years. People change, relationships change, life changes, and your plan has to keep up. Estate planning does not have to be confusing, but it does have to be done wisely. And choosing your power of attorney might be the single most important decision in your entire estate plan. If this opened your eyes, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of You Can't Make This Stuff Up. I'm Attorney Otto. Plan wisely, live confidently, and I'll see you next time.